Hey, good morning. Again, we are going to spend some time talking about what's going on up here, not in mine in particular, but in everybody's. And, the more that I think about this and the more that I look at what we've talked about on the last 20 some shows, most of it has been about brain stuff in some way, shape, or form, either how it's working or how we are allowing it to work or what we're thinking. And really, that's the biggest issue with absolutely everything. If we don't like what's going on with us, we need to do some work on this in some way, shape, or form. So again, I've got a little presentation thing I want to share with you. So let's have a look at that. I'm still waiting for somebody to explain to me an easier way to do this, but nobody stepped up to the plate yet. So I'll keep doing it this way till somebody teaches me something different. Okay, so brain stuff. Everything that we're doing all the time is really related to how we are using this, how we're thinking, how we're feeling, what we're doing, what direction we're going in, what's happening to us, how we're processing our day, how we're processing our feelings. All of that stuff is brain exercise. And if we don't like what's happening with us or to us, we have to start to do some work to change that. So we're going to watch this little video. I think it's like 4 or 5 minutes. It's Dan Siegel, who's done some really interesting work on brain stuff and connection and all of those kinds of things.
The adolescent period is absolutely amazing. People often give it a negative approach, saying, oh, it's a time where adolescents are going to lose their mind, or they're just immature, or raging hormones drive them crazy. These are all not only wrong, but they're myths that mislead us and actually disempower us. Whether we're adults or adolescents, they actually give us the wrong message and they make it so there's nothing we can do. So what is actually the truth? The truth is that instead of raging hormones, what's happening is we have remodeling in the brain. In ways we never could have predicted, we now understand two big things are happening in the brain. Things you as an adult can support adolescents in developing well, and if you're an adolescent, you actually can use this to help your brain grow in an optimal way. What are those two things? The brain is pruning itself. So imagine that in childhood, you're growing like a tree and establishing all these branches and all these leaves are growing. In the brain, that means connections among the basic cell, the neuron, called synapses, are being established. And you're soaking in the knowledge of the world, and that's beautiful. The tree is just growing, growing, growing. But then what happens, that surprised everyone, is the brain begins to prune itself. You start carving away some of those leaves, some of the smaller branches, even some of the larger branches. And the reason for the pruning is to specialize the brain. While the child is developing in ways that are really generalized, learning everything they can about everything they can, an adolescent is going to begin to find their passion, to actually find things they like, things they really love doing, and to drive their development in that way. So pruning is actually a use it or lose it principle underneath it. That if you don't use something, you're going to lose it. So if you like sports or like dancing or like music, do those things so you continue to establish those circuits. The second thing that happens in the remodeling adolescent brain is myelin formation. Myelin is a healthy sheath that allows connected neurons to communicate with each other in a much more effective way. How? It's 100 times faster, the signal that's sent down a neuron to communicate with another neuron, 100 times faster, and after it fires off, it's 30 times shorter the resting period that happens. 30 times 100 is 3,000. So when you've put down myelin, you've made your neurons communicate 3,000.
I'm just going to interrupt him briefly because I talk about this all the time. And drug and alcohol use during adolescence disrupts those two really important processes. And it doesn't matter what you think. Like if you think, well, it's this is supposed to happen to teenagers, or everybody does that when they're a teenager, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal, and it really changes the developmental path that a teen is on. And so if you're a teen watching this, you got to start asking yourself, am I really okay with that? Yeah, I like it. And there's parts of it that I like, but it's disrupting things. If you're an adult, uh, help your teen understand that drug and alcohol use can wait. It's not absolutely critical to do it right then. And and secondly, uh, once you start, it becomes the most important thing that you want to pay attention to.
Times more effectively. That's a
Right.
great thing. Now, the great thing too is that you as an adolescent can actually use the focus of your attention to be aware of your emotions, aware of other people, to be engaging in activities, to be doing things with your thoughts that actually reinforce the parts of your brain you want to hold on to. So the good news about the remodeling story is that a field called neuroplasticity, how the brain responds to experience, shows us that what you do with your mind can change the activity and therefore the structure of your brain. So if you then come up with the statement that the ultimate goal of brain remodeling is to make an integrated brain, to differentiate areas, that's the pruning, and myelinate them, that's the linkage. When you increase differentiation and linkage, you make the brain more integrated. And an integrated brain is the pathway toward well-being. And you can do mind-sight exercises. These are exercises that increase insight, empathy, and integration. And if you do them as an adolescent, and you can also do them as an adult, you'll actually increase the integration of your brain as your brain is growing, not just during adolescence, but throughout the lifespan. And what's the outcome of integration? When integration is made visible, it's kindness and compassion. And so what we see through adolescent development is that our relationships become built on connections that are deep and filled with honoring each other's vulnerability, that's kindness, and supporting connections that are compassionate, filled with a sense of caring about other people and wanting to help them. This is the kind of world we can build as we move through life and support each other in our development.
So that's yeah. I gotta not do that right now. Sorry, I'll get back to that. That was actually Erica phoning me, but I will chat with her after. Okay, so insight is thinking about what you were thinking about, like evaluate what you were doing. Empathy is being kind. Like if you're going to do something, ask yourself, is what I'm going to do, think, or say, is it kind? Is it kind to me? Is it kind to the people that I'm interacting with? And integration is pay attention to what's happening, and then you can start to evaluate and ask yourself, like, what's really important for me? Uh, how am I really feeling about this? And so these little guys on the bottom, um, you know, if whatever you're doing, whether it's frying eggs or cooking or cleaning or going for a walk or whatever, like enjoy it, get into it, experience it, pay attention to it. Uh, when we and the guy in the middle, when we're thinking about what we're thinking about, when we pay attention to our thoughts, that starts to give us our power back. And lastly, it's important to rest, like get decent regular sleep, go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. Uh, uh, you know, treat yourself with respect and care, and just that standard thing that we've talked about a lot: neurons that fire together wire together. Donald Hebb was a Canadian, so we can be proud of that. But practice what you want. You know, if you want to be peaceful and happy, practice being peaceful and happy. If you want to be energetic, practice being energetic. If you want to be kind and compassionate, practice being kind and compassionate. It's like it's an inside job. Anyway, thanks for listening. I will be back tomorrow. And again, I have to figure this out. So stop share and stop recording. And you guys take care.